National Voter Registration Day is today. Have you kept up with voting law changes in your state? We're joined now by voting rights attorney Richard Bell, founder of votingforbeginners.com. He's also a trial attorney in New York. Been with us before. He's with us live this morning. Richard, a lot of changes lately.
Oh, yes, Gordon. Thank you for having me. Lots of changes, lots of states, Texas, Georgia, Florida, Arkansas, all over the place. So today is a day dedicated to voter registration, and it's been going on this day since 2012, and we have registered more than 4.5 million people on this day since 2012.
Wow. All right, so what does it mean here? What do you do? What can you do?
Okay, so first of all, I have this site, votingforbeginners.com, where I literally educate people in 10 episodes, 3 to 6 minutes apiece, so it's less than an hour in total, on how to register, how to vote, and make sure your vote gets counted. And there are two excellent sources that I cite, which is one is vote.org, because if you go to that, you can get to your state's particular rules. And if you still have questions, there's a toll-free number, 866-OUR-VOTE. That's the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, and they will answer questions that you have along the way of the process.
Did I see, by the way, is this stat correct? Like 25 states enacted 54 laws with provisions to expand voting access? We hear so much about restrictions, it seems.
Oh, yes. There are great states, California, Virginia, New York, New Jersey, Nevada. And then there's the 18 states that passed 30 laws restricting voting. So we have basically two countries going on right now.
So to be clear also, if I understand correctly, some of the states that have been described as having restrictive voting laws in some cases are just pulling back measures that were put in place just for the pandemic.
To a small extent, Gordon, but really what we have right now is there's a reason there are 3 potential laws being talked about or passed by one house in Congress because we got a problem. And there's the Freedom to Vote Act, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, and an amendment to the Electoral Vote Count Act. So it's not just a few activists that think it has to change. It's a lot of people because we have a real problem in this country about making voting easy and accessible.
We're speaking live this morning with Richard Bell, founder of votingforbeginners.com. Today is National Voter Registration Day. One of the big things, too, I guess, has been voter ID.
Yes, absolutely. And part of the compromise in the Freedom to Vote Act, which has been introduced to the Senate, that Joe Manchin himself was one of the authors of, is that we've come to a compromise on ID. And what the compromise is, that if that bill were passed, that ID forms other than a driver's license, in some states a gun license, you could use a utility bill, you could use other forms of ID, a lease. We just want to make it accessible for everyone. If there's an ID required in the state, fine, but we have to make it an ID where everybody could fall in the category.
Back to just National Voter Registration Day, what percentage of Americans who are eligible to vote actually are registered?
Well, here's the problem. 25% of eligible Americans are not registered to vote. That means a quarter of the country of eligible voters are not eligible to vote.
That's tens of millions, I'd imagine.
That's exactly right. While the last election, we had a really good turnout to America, the highest turn in 120 years was almost 67%. That still means a third of the country let the other 2/3 elect the president.
So are we indifferent, Richard? Do we not care?
Yeah, I'd say it's a number of factors. I'd say, look, there's always apathy out there. There's obviously voter suppression laws. But my solution is the politicians, the judges, they have failed us. We, the people, have to act now, and I want to get us out of the mess with education, with voter education. My goal is that every high school, college, and corporation has their students and employees go to votingbeginners.com and just find out the information. This is completely nonpartisan. It's about information and education.
Very good. Hey, thanks for sharing a few minutes. Nice talking to you. Richard Bell, founder of votingforbeginners.com. He's also a trial attorney in New York.